Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Presents Elements of Horror. My name is Sean.
I am Anthony, a very small yellow rectangular basket for catching fluid.
Ew.
Chaish, Najawamshi, John.
Oh, wow. Now I feel like a letdown because I'm just going to say Ray.
You could have pretended like you were speaking some other language. You know any
I,
Yiddish, Ray?
I know, considering the theme of this movie, if I could throw down some Polish, I would have. I mean, damn.
Uh, John, so tonight is your pick. So please tell us what you picked, why you picked it, to tell us all about this film.
Yeah. So the film that I picked is Krzysztof Kieślowski's A Short Film About Killing. During the 1980s, Kieślowski, who most listeners will know as the director of the Three Colors trilogy, starring Juliette Binoche, and The Double Like of Veronique, uh, did he during the 80s for Polish television he did a series called The Decalogue. It was a 10-part series, each film about an hour long each, all based on one of the 10 commandments. Later, towards the end of in 1988, he took the Thou Shalt Not Kill episode and the Thou Shalt Not Commit Adultery episode and made them feature-length films titled A Short Film About Killing and A Short Film About Love, respectively. And the film that you watched for Elements was a short film about killing based on Thou Shalt Not Kill. This is probably one of the most unsettling films I've seen just because it refuses to distinguish between individual violence and institutional violence. It follows a young drifter named Yashek who murders a taxi driver named Vladimir, and he is later put to death by the state. Uh, this film, it just in direct response to many of these themes, was responsible for the death penalty being banned in Poland. I find that watching this film and like why its elements, the horror in this film, it's not about evil individuals so much. It's about a system that normalizes killing, and we get this really straight away with like just stylistically, just this world that is sickly green and brown with its color palette by Vladimir Itsiak, who used over 500 color filters that he custom designed for this
Wow.
film to look the way it is. So we're in a Warsaw that feels morally rotten before we experience any crimes. Um, and I could go on and on and on about, just sort of how time is a weapon, how the camera makes us ask questions about what it means to be an ethical witness. But yeah, we can get to all that in good time because I want to hear from all of you so fucking badly on this because I've been a fan of this film for a very long time. I've used this in my classes repeatedly for many years. I've had it as whole screening films for classes that have been absolutely floored by this film. But I'll just leave you with this one thought here, which is that one of the main characters in this film is an aspiring attorney, uh, Peter Balici, and he is. I look at his story and I just think to myself, okay, if we're going to talk about elements of horror, we can talk about violence, we can talk about institutional versus individual violence. Um, but I'm kind of surprised why nobody really, refers to elements of a ghost story in this film because Peter is going to be forever haunted by Jacek Lazar. And earlier, before Jacek is executed by the state, we learn exactly what he is haunted by in a way that reminds us that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Guys, thoughts?
Who wants to kick it off? Anthony, you just watched it, right? You just finished it. So it's the muffins are right out of the oven. So let's take a taste.
The muffins are, wow. It's first time viewing and wow. just extremely powerful film. Uh, I think when we get over to the institutional violence is where I started to get really, really freaked out by what's going on. And it took me back to an episode of the Twilight Zone when they did it's the Obsolete Man, where Burgess Meredith is deemed obsolete by the state, and basically they give him the option of choosing his own execution and quickly and swiftly carry it out. And it's very terrifying. And to see that on this, in this film, but moving much, much swifter and quicker, and you have no time to learn and go through a process of any kind of rehabilitation or anything like that. You're just deemed done, and society is through with you, and you're trash. The main character is only, they said he's about to turn 21, so
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
even a 21-year-old gentleman yet, and his life is gone. It's just gone. And obviously he's going through his own traumas, and that's led him down the road he's gone down. And you start to wonder whether or not what he set in motion is kind of a way to punish himself for past sins. So like I said, that second half of the film, middle to end, is just completely powerful. I still have chills right now talking about the film. Mind you, I just finished the movie like 5 minutes ago, so it's still a lot to unpack. But wow, that's wow. More than wow is what I can say about it. It's there's a lot to think about, and it's again just this baseball bat to the back of the head, and the sheer terror that you see towards the end of the film with this young man as he's approaching his death. It's awful to see tough guy facade stripped away to this very, I'm not going to say innocent, but to this just very human,
Vulnerable.
exactly, this vulnerable human moment that anyone could relate to. And it's just that primal fear of what's coming next. And it's wow, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And forgive me for stammering here, but it's a film that will make you stammer.
No, I like that. That's your reaction coming off at 5 minutes ago. That's why I wanted to
It's
hear
a
you
gut punch.
speak.
It's a gut
Yeah.
punch. 100%.
Ray, what about you? You texted me last week when you watched this. You said you liked it a lot. Talk about your experience watching a short film about killing.
Yeah, once John mentioned it, I was set on watching it so that I could really think about it and get some time in. Yeah, I loved it. It's interesting because usually the stuff with like that's very realistic and like serial killers or anything like that tends to be kind of revolting to me, but this is not that. This feels
It's not exploitation.
honest. No, it's honest. It's honest. It's purposeful. There was a part of it to me that felt a little bit like, and I think I texted John this too, that feels a little bit uh like the movie Civil War, and that it's meant to get across a message. And one of the things that I was struck with was that they when they interview Pieter at the beginning of the film, and they're asking him why he wants to be a lawyer, and why he wants to enforce the law, and what he believes is its purpose. He says to something, I'm going to do my best to sum up what he says, but something to the effect of to change people in a way that changes their behavior and moves them away from criminal action.
Well, and to get to know, he says something like explicitly about getting to know people that he otherwise wouldn't, and understanding their motivations or something like that.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also like he recognizes that like his hope is that part of law is that if he's practicing law, if he's having someone be put in prison or whatever, that they are being changed, that there's a certain amount of oh, I forget the word I'm trying to get to, but that it's not only like, well, you do these things, we're going to put you in jail, and it's a deterrent as well. And he realizes by the end of the film, I think he knew it ahead of time already, but the thing that like has become very much the truth of state, execution is that it doesn't work as a deterrent. It really
No.
doesn't. Like it serves as a means of our of like state sanctioned revenge of an eye for an eye, and it doesn't really work as a deterrent at all. Like it there's been multiple studies and cases about this where they've looked into it, and when it's the people who are going to commit crimes are not necessarily stopping and going like, wait, if I do this, then I'll get the death penalty. That doesn't really give them pause. Like, um, that is, that it really doesn't work that way. And what you end up doing is just getting rid of a person because you don't know what else to do with them. Uh, and we have this kid who, like, as the movie progresses, we get to this point where it's just before his execution, we hear more of his backstory. And he's this person who's been through trauma, and he made a terrible mistake in error in judgment, and it ended in a terrible tragedy that he still feels the pain of. And it's led him to this, where I don't think that it was truly about, well, I guess it's arguable that he was truly wanting to kill somebody, because he does do the whole thing with the rope and tartaning around his hands, but then when he executes the taxi driver, his thought is, I'm going to take the car and I'm going to leave with the girl. So there's a certain amount of like, I'm going to escape my life. And again, you feel very sympathetic for him. I think like it's an interesting ploy that like we see the taxi driver in his everyday life, and that we get a guy who's not very sympathetic. He drives away from people that are waiting for his taxi. We see him hit on a young girl. He's kind of fairly scummy, and you're like, ooh, ooh, and like, I don't know. I didn't think that necessarily he deserved to die, but like definitely once he gets it, like once he gets murdered, I didn't necessarily feel that bad for him.
Yeah, she could have done a lot worse picking.
Yeah, he didn't. He did. And
They never confirm, but they hint at that he might be the cat killer, the cab driver.
yes, there's that too. And once you see that he knows the girl from the fruit stand, I couldn't help but wonder if that was part of his motivation too. Was like he's going to pick her up. He's like, yeah, now we can go out into the mountains and go away from the city. And you see that it's her, and you've seen the taxi driver's past interactions with her. I don't know if it was just circumstance, but man, it's crazy circumstance. Um, but yeah, it was impressive. Like, I was sitting there, and at first I was watching it on one TV, and then I switched to another TV because I thought maybe it's just this TV, because sometimes there's one TV in the house that like it's a little bit hard to see stuff. So I thought, let me switch to another one in a kind of more of a not as brightly like room and try it again. And then I realized, oh, this is an effect. And it really does make it feel grimy. It does feel like a sick world. It feels dirty and gross, and it just like it feels very gritty, and like, it leads you down the road of like this world that it is, and it's dark. There's something wrong with it. um and I think that's part of what he was going for. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was incredibly powerful. I thought that I John, thank you. I think it was an amazing pick. I think it's a great film, and I wouldn't hesitate to show it to people. I think it's a little bit harsh, but it's worth it. It is worth it. If it changes people, if it makes them rethink about capital punishment, good. Sometimes you need some really hard lessons.
I guess I'm a monster because I felt no emotional anything from this movie. It was very well made. I really liked the colors, the filters. I didn't know that there were that many, John, like you said, that the cinematographer made, but that's even more impressive. I thought the acting was all great. The long scene between Peter, the lawyer Bashlik, and Yashik, I thought, in the last third of the film was great because it's two people talking, being, occasionally interrupted, and it's very engaging. But I think Yashik. It's the thing with the death penalty to me, and I don't know. I think about this from time to time, and I especially thought about it in the wake of watching this movie. You got to be careful with it, but I'm not necessarily opposed to it because the thing is, it's not about deterrent. It's about, look, there's already too many fucking people on this planet, and a lot of them suck. So you go and do something like that. I don't care if you're 20. Bye. And he proved to be a fucking cunt right up until the end when he's like, can you ask my mother if she can give me her plot next to my father to be buried in? It's like, what a narcissistic fucking, like, oh, I was like, oh my God, you are even more of a monster now. Like, Jesus Christ. Could you think of anybody other than yourself for 3 fucking seconds? The story about his sister was touching, but it just made him a bigger cunt. So I just, I don't know. I felt nothing for him. I felt the most for the lawyer. I really liked the way that he kills the cab driver. He goes to pick up the girl from the fruit stand. It just cuts to the fucking jury or whatever. Like the first time I watched it, it was Saturday night and it was late. I was falling asleep, so I ended up having to rewatch a large chunk of it yesterday, but I was like, did I see that right? And I did. And I thought that was a brilliant cut because it's like, we don't need to know anything else. Like that was, very good. But I mean, even the cab driver didn't deserve to die. But again, like, I mean, I don't know, man. Is that any huge loss? But again, one of the things I ask myself, is this just Sean's reaction to being alive in 2026 and all the horrible shit? Like, I don't know if that's just like a defense mechanism that I put on. But I, I don't know. I mean, again, you got to be careful with the death penalty. But if you've got somebody that it's like dead to rights, they did this. I don't know. Do they need to be let back out to possibly do it again? Because again, like, I just couldn't believe when he asked that about the fucking burial plot. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm supposed to have sympathy for this guy?
But isn't that the naivety of youth? It's the youth is very self-centered. They think the world revolves around them.
Yeah,
and
but
there,
I mean,
and
when
there
they
are
go
no
that far.
and there are no consequences ultimately. Especially by today's standards.
But see, here there's consequences. So
Well,
I mean,
yes and no. So I mean, again, I would have liked to have seen him sentenced to life or sentenced as an adult until he's reformed or what have you. But I also, on the flip side, understand that the law is law, and if you commit this kind of crime, like these are the severe consequences that can happen. And again, back to, being naive to what the absolute worst outcome could be, that therein lies the shock when it comes. But yeah, I think he should have got a chance. But I also, on the flip side, don't believe you should be killed just because you're an asshole either. But
Well, not because you're an asshole, but I
yeah,
mean, he premeditated and killed somebody, and he did.
he did.
Like Ray said, he had his moments where he wasn't. He had to kind of like
Yeah.
psych himself into it. But also, isn't this the behavior that sees somebody? Now I've done it. I broke the ice, right? I mean,
Mm,
I don't know. Well, you can't say that's not for me to say, right?
no, no,
However,
no.
with circumstances, you can say, I don't know, man. Like,
It's odd to say. It's hard to say because like I said, I felt like he was doing it as almost a form of self punishment. But on the flip side of that, he was also ready to run. So, you know, take it however you want to take it. But I did think that maybe he was deserving of a chance to, especially at that young an age. Like you see it all the time in the news where somebody that young and even younger throw their fucking entire lives away over foolishness. And
yeah,
again, yes, there has to be consequences, but we have to hope that as a society, you're able to come out better on the other end, even if, you're in prison for well into your 50s. It is what it is. But I don't know. I just hope that I was hoping that he was deserving of a chance. And for a moment there, when he's sitting in the cafe and he flicks the chocolate at the little girls on the window, and you again another like example of like this human part of him, and it makes it comes back around when he starts bringing up his sister. Well, they would probably be about his sister's age,
yeah,
and again, you get this like genuine smile on his face until he kind of comes back to the realization that, oh yeah, she's gone, and this is kind of what I have to do next. And again, I don't know why I'm going with self punishment, but I don't know. You tell me. Is it self punishment, or does he really want to get away and ride off into the sunset with this other girl? Like, and realistically, when you think about that, are you going to go and survive in the mountains for a couple of weeks with no money, no jobs, no place to live, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Kieślowski he uses a sort of blank canvas for you to provides it for you because it's like he had the whole idea about the sister, being killed by the combine. It's like they only suggest that's it and that's the psychological explanation. They never explain it. It goes hand in hand with what Sean was saying earlier, where they just completely bracket out the whole trial itself. I think like having the trial would have just, I think, would have really undercut all of
yeah.
that
Agreed.
because it all ties in with like there's two moments and they're both moments that just always floor me. That one line where where Yashik says to Peter, "Look, you were you stood by me, when everyone else was against you." And Peter's like, "They were against what you did." And Yashik just responds, "No, it's all the same." And that is just a moment that coming right on the heels, and because Peter is the stand-in for the audience in so many ways. It's like, we
Hmm.
kind of all have had these moments where we're really happy about something and we're so happy that we just want to tell random strangers about it. It's like he just like I passed the bar exam. I'm a lawyer
Yes.
now. Just like ride through the streets. And then he has that great moment where he's talks to the judge and he just completely breaks protocol and just was in his like, what could I have done better? Like
Right.
can you critique my performance here? Like what could I have done better? And the judge basically just says to him, nothing, you did just fine. If anything, I could have been a better judge.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
and just like the little just sort of like how we feel in many ways it's like the film traps the audience. I think that's how it kind of ensnares the audience, just almost like, if we're taking this back to elements of horror here, it entraps the audience just sort of like in many ways like horror films. And it's because, again, it's what the camera does. It's like he intentionally places the camera at these distances that are uncomfortable. They're too close for us to ignore, or they're too far away for us to be able to intervene in what's
Oh.
happening. And it's like the first half of the film, it's like it wants you to be an audience, and then the second half of the film, it punishes you for being one.
Speaking of camera work, there are some amazing shots. I mean, right away, that opening shot with the window pane closing, just the reflections of the giant tenements in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. You see the young man at the bridge, and he's peeking through like a little space that he's open, between his jacket and his arm. He's looking back, but it's an interesting like juxtaposition, because at that point, although it's a beautiful camera shot and it's something really interesting, he's hunting. He's hunting for victims.
Yeah.
And then when it comes back around, and he's playing with this rock, which is oddly placed at the top of the bridge, probably by some other little scummy kids, and then goes on and does what he does, causing an accident below. I guess you finally kind of see what he is and what he's all about.
It
Um,
reminded me of that scene from the movie The Good Son, if anyone's
I
ever
was
seen it,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say
Yeah.
the good
Mis-
son.
Mis- Mr. Highway.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right,
Uh,
right.
the dude that I grew up with that killed people, one of the incidents that in retrospect was like a red flag that like a 13-year-old Sean would not, I mean, I wasn't there, but when I heard about it, I was like, that's not good. But I continued to be his friend. He threw a fucking boulder off a bridge and fucking, I mean, into a windshield. Nobody, as far as I know, died, but I mean, that's definitely a psychopath building their skills. So, I mean, that life experience may also have something to do with the way that I react to this kind of thing. I'm sure it probably does actually in retrospect, but
Being somebody that's like really into true crime and whatnot, again, you see all these negative behaviors that are ultimately leading up to something horrible. And even though we can clearly see by the end of the film what was the catalyst for all that stuff, um, again, I think it's just one of those things where maybe he can be reformed with the proper tools, because he looks like he didn't allow himself to attain any. But yeah, please, Ray, go ahead.
Well, I mean, to kind of build on that and even go back to something that I don't think that your reaction is invalid, Sean, because if anything, you're reacting as an audience member in the time we live in. Like we live in we live in a time that's fairly polarized, and like you know, we don't. I don't want to get too political, but we don't live in a time that feels like we can live in a gray area. We feel as though we have to make things black or white, and this film does a thing where it goes gray, and that grayness, that like it goes back to what Anthony said, like we feel as though we can have we've got what this kid does, and we understand it, and we go, well, yeah, I mean, it's premeditated, he was leading to this, like just do away with him. And then like we get more about him and what has in the sister and what has transpired and leading up to this, and you realize that it's not so black and white, and it's not easy to divide it and say it's just this. it's just evil. And it's a lot more complex. And I think that like I said before, the thing with the taxi driver and who he is as a character, I don't think he deserves to die, but the film does set up things where it questions his morality. Like, is he the cat killer? Has he been harassing this girl more than we see in the film? How many people does he like really drive by in his strange job as a taxi driver where he doesn't even want to help people drive for them as a taxi driver? Like, and it adds a whole lot of questions. It adds a whole lot of grayness to that world. And like because of that, I think it's kind of a reminder that like sometimes we can judge things and go, no, 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 I got it. I understand what it's about. I understand what this is, what has transpired, and I get it. And then we don't stop and like, or things do the things should stop, cause us pause and cause us moments where we go, oh wait, I didn't know that detail. That does change my outlook on this, and start to question like, you know, is what we're doing the right thing, or is it just the easy thing? And we live in a world where sometimes the best answer is not the easy answer, and it's not like there's not clean resolutions, there's not clean answers, and the best thing we can do is try our best. And but again, that doesn't feel like the time we're living in. We feel like a time. It feels a lot like a time where we feel like we have to be resolute, and we have to
Mhm.
be divisional in how we see things. Uh, and it probably does definitely temper how we take this film in, and how we think about it and how we react to it. So I don't think it's an invalid way of feeling about the film. Like, like, you're right. I mean, he does think about it. He does commit the murder. It's a terrible thing, but it does feel fairly, like an excuse. It feels like an excuse on his part to be like, oh well, I did it, but please ask me if I can please ask if I can be buried, next to my father and next to my sister, and here's my story about me and my sister. And you're like, oh, now you're trying to make me feel bad about you. And like, the question is like, is he doing that on purpose, or is he truly this kid who has made a mistake and now has to live with the consequences, or rather die with the consequence of it? So I don't know. There's a lot of questions that the film brings up, and I think they're not easy ones to answer.
It's just whenever I teach this, the question that I always prompt my students with is that this is a film that has arguably two of the most brutal murder scenes in film history, yet the body count pales in comparison to any film directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Mhm.
Why is that? And it's a lot of the personal details that we touch upon, and because the murder that is committed is not quick and meticulous and fast, like, some mafia hitman movie, or something out of John Wick. It's long, it's clumsy. We get a
Mhm.
Yeah.
close shot of the two images that will always stick with me, and I think they always stick with most people that watch this, is the foot the sock, foot coming out of the shoe as
Yep.
the guy's being strangled. And I'll just say, I'm surprised nobody else has said this yet. Yashek's shit falling into
Yeah.
the pan beneath him.
Oh yeah, that's one of the ones that got me. That was one of the ones that got me. Yeah.
I know it's how coldly calculated it is. Oh, don't forget the shit pan.
Mhm.
Um, another thing I was unpacking towards, well, just now, and is kind of skewing my view on how to view this young man is that he never expressed any remorse for anything that he did. He's still, like Sean said, still wrapped up in himself. And by the end of the film, he didn't ask about how the victim's family was, or if he even had a family. I'm assuming he did. And yeah, he stays fixated on himself up until the point to where he wants to usurp his mother's grave. It's kind of odd, but again, I just saw this flick, so I'm still unpacking it as we go. But that's another thing that just popped into mind right now is that he has this lack of remorse, complete and total lack of remorse for what he's done. So maybe on the other end of that, maybe he does deserve, but I'm still feeling conflicted about it. And I think that's what this film does is makes you question your own moral compass. And where this film goes, I'm still not sure on whether or not I'm on board where it went. It's yeah, and this is one of these ones I'm gonna wrestle with for a while, and I'll definitely be thinking on this over the next couple of days because it is one of those films that's gonna stick with you. And yeah, I'm glad I got an opportunity to see this. John, thank you for making the trek all the way down to my house to help me out with this loan. Fantastic.
Hey, and anytime, and just another thing that just sprung into my mind, just going off of what you were saying, Anthony, is that one thing I forgot until just watching this again recently is that after Yasha kills Valdemir, he turns the radio on in the car and it's playing a song about like a courageous lion, and it's like
Yeah.
everything that he is not.
Right.
Yeah.
And he breaks down. You see
Yeah.
him kind of almost curl into a fetal position and start crying until he eventually lashes out and he yanks the entire radio out of the center console.
Well, and I mean, there's that idea that, like, okay, so think about the James Gandolfini scene in True Romance, right? I always love that fucking scene because he describes to Patricia Arquette the first time he killed somebody, he threw up. Can you believe that? You know, but the thing is, so that's where I am with Yashik is like he is doing this to punish. He's doing this because he's got this morbid, you know, he's on this morbid frequency, but also because if he does this, maybe he can get caught and die. Or it's like he's throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks. Or he'll go get the girl and go to the mountains. It's probably not going to last, but whatever. But he's doing it because he's not content. He's disturbed because of, you know, this history. And had he succeeded, of course, like he's going to cry and deal with all these emotions. But he also already showed us, like any normal person, non-psychopath that's going to do this stuff, okay, he has to psych himself into doing it. He almost doesn't do it. It's difficult, but he does it. Then he cries and gets sick or whatever. But he's just clearing these hurdles. So I just feel like the end with his narcissism just shows us this is exactly where if had he gotten away with it, he would have just kept doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do. He had no remorse. He would have killed somebody else. And I really believe, I'm really happy I watched this because I really just got major insight into my own psychology. And I feel the way I do about the death penalty because of my history with a murderer. And I can tell you that person, I feel like they're serving 2 life terms, and it's a fucking waste of anybody's money. He should have just been fucking killed. He should have been killed. I mean, it just boggles my mind that person is still alive. Like, I mean, all these years later, like 30-something years later, and like I never thought about before. I've always kind of been, I would never say I'm pro death penalty, but I'm not necessarily against it either. Like I do feel like, I don't know, man, too many people, limited air. Why are you breathing my air? You've proven yourself to not really be worthy of walking on planet Earth and breathing the same air that good people do. So fuck off, you know? And I don't like the idea of the state doing it, but I mean, you can't put that into, you know, if you could have an infallible Frank Castle, fine, but that's, you know, this is the real fucking world, so that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I don't know what there is no answer, but it's like Ray said, it's gray area, right? It's definitely gray area, but I'm not pro death penalty, but I'm definitely not against it. And oh man, I don't know, but I'm really happy for the insight.
So you'd say that this incarcerated individual that you know is definitely more Yashek than Hannibal Lecter, and that
Oh
probably
yeah. Oh,
that
I mean,
probably is that's of course that's the case with most.
so there's a Ministry song on "Mine Is a Terrible Thing to Taste,"
Hmm.
and I'll never forget a year or two after all this shit went down when I was in high school. I was listening to that song and I'd heard it, you know, hundreds of times before, and I realized I'm like, oh my God, this describes him exactly.
Mm.
He was a thrill seeker. He had no consequences in his life. His parents gave him a car. He wrecked the car. They gave him a better car. You know, I mean, just whatever. And so he just piled one thrill. And now I'm like quoting the song, where the song samples a movie called, I think it's The Violent Years, but it's like, I'm quoting the sample in the song, like piling one, you know, you had all the money could give. So you know, became a thrill seeker, piling one thrill on top of another until the murder. Kill for the love of killing. And I mean, literally, at this point in my life when I was in high school and this happened, and I stood by the person at first because of circumstances, and I was like, I don't think he did it. And then he killed other people, and you know, it became like it was undeniable, and it just destroyed my entire reality, and I had to rebuild it. And I don't know. It was a good life lesson. I mean, terrible to have to go through, like for other people too. You know, I mean, for the people that had to die. But I'm just saying, like, if shit like this happens, you fucking learn from it, right? Um, but yeah, I don't know. So that's 100%, and he's definitely more Yashik, definitely. But Yashik had nothing. Like that wasn't Yashik's motivation whatsoever. His motivation was just this nihilism that the thing that happened in his, you know, in his youth with his sister introduced this element of nihilism that just ended up having entropy and just devoured his entire psyche until he became this person that brought himself to do this thing for, you know, just hey, maybe I'll get away with it, maybe they'll catch me and kill me.
Your guy sounds a little bit more like a Bret Easton Ellis character.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Which may be why I'm such a Bret Easton Ellis fan. Could be.
I think the way you put it, you know, because I think the thing about the sister story is it's not just the death of the sister, it's the way it's the way that we know his family dealt with it, and that was something that struck me, and because you know he gets the accident happens, and it is an accident. It's a tragic accident, but still, it's the kind of accident that any dipshit kid could have. Um, but and the family's reaction is, well, ship him away, ship him away. We can, you know, we really don't want to deal with him. Ship him
Well, they
away,
don't want to
and
look at him.
they don't want to look at him, so they get rid of him. And like again, he's just some kid that made a dumb mistake, and if you think about uh, uh, you could compare it to the accident that happens inside of the movie Hereditary and
Yeah, yeah, yep.
the accidental beheading of the sister. And does the brother do it on purpose? No. But when he realizes it, he's so traumatized by the mistake, by the accident, that he just goes to bed. And then they find him, and the mother hates him. And how do you deal with that? You already hate yourself
You do.
because
You
of the
don't.
mistake you made.
The familial relationship is destroyed. There is no rebuilding that.
And then your mother
Ever.
now hates you.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
how do
it's
you deal
dumb.
with that? Like, that's a lot to unpack. And like the kid, and like he's a kid. He's just like the kid in Hereditary. He's a kid. So how do you deal with it? How do you go like, well, I made a terrible mistake and I can, I should try and get past it and become a better person in my life. But then your family can't stand you. So emotionally, what do you do? I mean, do you say that it was just a bad mistake and that maybe your life can be better, or you just go, done for, it's done for, I'm done for. I should just do bad things because this is who I am. This is what I'm fated for.
Right.
And Yasek seems to have gotten that conclusion. And I think that's where, like Anthony said, he comes in with the concept of like, maybe you can talk to someone like that and get them to the point to they understand, like, hey, it was an accident. What happened? The other things you did were not, but you need to realize that you still have a life where you get to make conscious decisions and not just accept that life is bad and it's going to be bad and that you just should do bad things because there's no other way around it.
Right.
And I understand what you're saying about capital punishment, because I get the concept of like having someone that is irredeemable and cannot make well, the only thing they're going to do if they ever get out is just keep committing terrible crimes, and they're not repentant for them, and they're never going to be repentant for them. And what is the purpose of keeping someone like that alive? But for the sake of removing individuals like that. But too often what ends up happening is it's just this, it becomes the society's need for revenge and saying like, yeah, we got that person. It's like, for example, like one of the like a sure death penalty in this country is you shoot a cop. You shoot a cop and you kill a cop. I'm not saying that shouldn't be something punishable by death, but it is a little troublesome to me that a person who goes out, shoots or kills multiple people can honestly get arrested, get sent to jail. But if they go out and they shoot one cop in the process, in the duty of, I mean, a police officer's job is a dangerous job. And I'm not saying that people should shoot at cops, but it is a little bizarre to me that that like you can actually, if you shoot one cop, that's it. You're gonna get the death penalty.
You can shoot a fucking little girl whose job is not dangerous. It's being a little girl, and you can, but you shoot a cop, and they're like, "Well, fuck you."
And the state is gonna put you away. And I'm not saying one life is better than the other, but it seems a little obtuse that we go.
Well, they are
the guy who's got a dangerous job and who gets killed in the line of that dangerous job is quantifiably more important a person than several people who were innocents and didn't have any interaction with this person other than to unfortunately be in their path.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying is if we're going to have that kind of standard, then we should apply it across the board, not just to certain individuals. It seems
agreed.
It seems faulty to do that.
It 100% is. And I mean, I'm not anti-cop. I mean, I think there's extreme problems with the police organization, the paradigm we employ in this country. But I'm not like, But that I agree 100%. Like you shouldn't be able to shoot a bunch of people, go to jail for life, shoot one cop and get executed. I mean, it's like what I don't even understand. Just makes zero fucking sense whatsoever. It sends a message that is the wrong message to send, but also it speaks volumes about the system that we have in place, right? So it's a boys' club, right?
Yeah. I mean, and we literally have movies like that. Like there's this, I forget that one movie, but wasn't it like 21, like something set Five Bridges or something like that, where the whole trailer is, I admittedly never saw the film, but the whole trailer is these guys in the process of a robbery shoot a police officer. And so they shut down the whole island to look for them.
Oh, 21 Bridges, yeah.
21 Bridges, thank you.
Yeah.
And then so they shut down the whole island to try and find these criminals. And then there's a cop who's trying to find them before all the other cops, because he knows that not only are they now easily going to get the death penalty, more than likely, but if other police officers get to them before like with and possibly get away with it, they're probably going to be killed. So, but it's troublesome that we have that system that like accepts that. But like again, like I said, like you go out and you can I mean, look at the Manson family. They killed a pregnant woman. They pulled the baby out of her belly. They executed her friends, and they're not the only couple that's not the only instance of people that they murdered. But yet they all were jailed.
Good thing that baby wasn't a cop, huh?
Yeah. And even Manson died in jail. He was in jail for a very, very, very long time before he finally died. And boy, if there was ever a case for some people that should have been probably put to death, it seems pretty obvious. But for some reason, they didn't have that in that case. Well, then again, I think it was outlawed in the state of California at that time. But
man, it is a really good discussion. I'm really glad that you picked this movie. Any final thoughts or anything we missed, John?
No, I think I don't want to say we got this one, quote unquote, because I think to say that is not to truly get what Kieślowski is doing here. And I'm glad that this choice elicited such a response. It's an Elements choice I'd been wanting to do for a very, very long time and just needed the right time to do it. So, yeah.
Oh, right on. Anthony, final thoughts?
I'm going to be unpacking this for a couple of days, like I said. And to piggyback off what John just said, you're 100% correct in that you should walk away from this film still questioning, like I said, also your moral compass and where you belong in society, in my opinion. It's powerful film, extremely powerful film. I loved it. Again, thank you for the loan. Thank you for choosing this film. I'm glad I was able to sit down and watch it. Never would have even heard of it without you. Thank you.
Ray?
Well, first and foremost, thank you, John. It's great art, and great art shouldn't be easy. It should be complex. It should challenge you. And if you either love it or it pisses you off, it's done its job. And I think it can do equal parts. And it's definitely worth a watch. It's not an easy watch, but it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely a film that people should see. So,
agreed. And I agree, Ray. It is great art, and I think people should watch it. I did not like. I will never watch it again. But even though it affected me, and so that is what is important. John, so I watched this on Criterion. Where else can people watch this?
Criterion, Canopy. You can also watch this like if you exhaust all those options. I don't recommend this, but if you can't don't have access to either, or Internet Archives has it, and you can watch it. It's the quality is not great, but it's not horrendous either.
Hmm.
But yeah, Criterion or Canopy would be ideal.
Yeah, it Criterion, and there's a lot of great stuff on Criterion. So I just
Oh
resubbed, and I was like,
yeah.
oh my god.
And for those who want to own it physically too, there is a Blu-ray available. It's multi-region. Well, not
Oh, great.
multi-region. I believe it's a UK edition, but it is available on Blu-ray, so it's out there.
Excellent.
That's a short film about killing. So I'm next in the Elements rotation. I got one for you guys. I actually changed this 11th hour. I had a different one.
Ooh.
I'll save that for the warmer weather. Darren Aronofsky's, I can't say his fucking name, Pi.
Great.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like maybe when I said Darren Aronofsky, people were like, "Oh God, please not Requiem for a Dream." No, I wouldn't do that to myself, let alone anybody else. I mean, amazing movie, never doesn't need to be seen more than once for sure. But no, Pi, I just rewatched and I will rewatch again, and I just fucking, oh my God,
There's so many films that could be elements of his career.
yeah,
Quite
absolutely.
honestly.
Absolutely,
Like,
but yeah. So
Mother.
that's my pick. That's available on Prime right now, or it was 2 weeks ago. So, but yeah, it's a Horror Vision. It's Elements of Horror. I'm Sean.
I am Anthony.
I'm John.
I'm Ray.
When incoming high school senior Lisa McCready's boyfriend and classmates are brutally murdered at a party in the woods, the quiet suburban community of Sundown Hills transforms into a paranoid nightmare. Betrayal, corruption, and dark family secrets push Lisa dead center into a burgeoning class war where rival millionaires plot to steal the town's future between reliance on big oil and the incoming age of legalized weed, electric cars, and social conscience. As she struggles for answers, the killings continue, and Lisa finds the world she knew is little more than a lie to placate the masses and keep a satanic 1% in power. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of Murder Virus, A Collection of Desires, and Volume 4, comes Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, Teenage Giallo Mystery.